Hola chicos y chicas de año 8. This lesson is here to help you a little bit to prepare for your end of year assessment. One of the topics that we have done very few lessons and will be included in your assessment is the topic of work. So we are going to do a few activities to help you get the best possible grade in your assessment. So what you can expect that might happen in your end of year assessment about work. You might have some listening and readings where you can be asked to understand what job they do or what they have to do in their job. Okay, so maybe in a reading or in a listen exercise, they say, my father is a lawyer and he works in an office, and they ask you, what job does he do? And you have to say, that is a lawyer. So you need to know the jobs. What can happen as well is that in one of the bullet points of your writing, they might ask you to write something regarding jobs. What are the two options? They might ask you to describe what does a family member do for a job. So write 2, 3 sentences saying, my dad works as a policeman and he has to help people. In my opinion, it is something. Or they might ask you what job you would like to do in the future. And you will have to use the future tense to say, in the future, I want to be a doctor because I am going to help people. In my opinion, it will be difficult. Okay? So those are the things that we need to be confident and be able to do in the assessment. So what we are going to do, we are going to look at the key structures that you need to know, the grammar in order to do that. Then 15 different jobs. For your listening and reading, it will be good if you are able to understand them. And then for your writing, you will need to know, I will say, at least a couple and to be able to describe what the job is. You don't need to know the 15 of them and what they have to do, but it will be very important to memorize a couple and be able to write in the present or in the future. Okay, so we are going to look at the key structures, then the jobs, the grammar, then look at giving reasons, and then we put it all together to write sentences and have something to study. So the first thing, you can find support in your knowledge organizer. There is quite a few boxes to help you with jobs. You have them highlighted here. And also I have attached in the homework the two main sentence builder. Okay, so whatever you find easier to use, either use your sentence builders or your knowledge organizer, that will help you through the lesson. Okay, so first thing, I will encourage you to write in your book the two structures. Okay, so if they ask you about what does your parent do for a job, you will need to be able to say mi padre o mi madre es, o mi padre o mi madre trabaja de. My father is, or my father or my mom works as. Or the other option, if they ask you about the future tense, you need to be able to say I want to be, quiero ser, o me gustaría trabajar o me gustaría ser. I would like to be. Okay? So you can use ser o trabajar. Quiero trabajar o quiero ser. I will take a second to copy those keywords and then we get to the jobs. So here is the list of the jobs. You can see that if they are masculine or feminine, we will write them slightly different, but you have all of them in your knowledge organizer. So what I will do with you is do a choral repetition. I say it, you say it, and then any that you feel that you need to annotate, make a note, okay? The ones that you think, okay, if I hear that in a listening or reading, I wouldn't know what job it is, okay? So let's go for it. I say it, you say it. Profesor, cocinero, enfermero, abogado, médico, camarero, piloto, dependiente. Now, it will be useful now to think using the two key structures. So how would you say, for example, my dad is a lawyer. So think about it. How would you say, my dad is a lawyer? Mi padre es abogado. Let's imagine that I want to say, in the future, I want to be a pilot. How would you say, in the future, I have to be a pilot? En el futuro, quiero ser piloto. En el futuro, quiero ser piloto. Have a look at them. Any that you think that you will not remember, make a note, and we move to the second list of jobs. Here, peluquero is a hairdresser, mecánico, a mechanic, cantante, a singer, futbolista, footballer, dentista, a dentist, jardinero, a gardener, recepcionista, a receptionist. Okay? Same idea. Think about it. We are going to practice a few. How would you say, my mom is a singer? My mom is a singer. My mom is a singer. Mi madre es cantante. How would you say, my mom works as a footballer? My mom works as a footballer. My mom works as a footballer. Mi madre trabaja de futbolista. Mi madre trabaja de futbolista. How would you say, I want to be a hairdresser? I want to be a hairdresser. I want to be a hairdresser. Quiero ser peluquero. Quiero ser peluquero. So those are the jobs. You need to be familiar with them. Let's try to see if you can understand them during a listening or identify them in a reading exercise. Okay, team. True or false? Is that sentence true with the photo? So it says, en el futuro quiero ser abogado. En el futuro quiero ser abogado. Is that true or false? 3, 2, 1. It is false. It should say, en el futuro quiero ser camarero, ¿ya? Camarero, waiter, abogado, lawyer. Camarero, waiter, abogado, lawyer. Let's do another one. Okay, this one says, mi padre trabaja de piloto. Mi padre trabaja de piloto. Is that true or false according to the photo? 3, 2, 1. Yes, this one is correct. So my father works as a pilot. Another one. Mi madre trabaja de jardinera. Mi madre trabaja de jardinera. Is that true or false? 3, 2, 1. It's true. Well done. We move to the next one. En el futuro me gustaría trabajar de médico. En el futuro me gustaría trabajar de médico. 3, 2, 1. False. That one is a lawyer, that is un abogado, or if it's a girl, abogada. Okay, that's an example of what you need to understand in a reading. Let's move on. Now, using the structures and the key language that you have learned or copy, try to translate these short sentences, okay? Later, this is like the very, very basics. Later, we will add reasons into it. But can you say, for example, my mom works as a hairdresser, my dad is a teacher, in the future, I want to be a footballer, and in the future, I would like to work as a singer. Pause the video, try to translate those 4 sentences, and then we go through the answers. Okay, let's get a green pen. Let's see how you did. So the first one, you should have mi madre trabaja de peluquera. Mi madre trabaja de peluquera. Mi padre es profesor. En el futuro quiero ser futbolista. And en el futuro me gustaría trabajar de cantante. Okay, check that you are not missing words, that you got it correct. And this is like the most basic. But remember, if they ask you in a writing to write about what do your parents do in a job or what would you like to be, you need to write 3 ideas, ideally. Okay, so we are going to look at how we can do that. Okay, so in this first sentence builder, you have the key task that you might have to do in a job. Okay, if you are talking about your parents or your mom or your dad, you will need to use the top one, the one that says tiene que. He has to do something. So you will say, mi madre trabaja de camarera o como camarera y tiene que preparar comida o servir a los clientes. If you are talking about yourself, you will need to use the bottom one. I want to be, quiero ser jardinero porque quiero o voy a cuidar el jardín. I am going to look after the garden. Now, you don't need to know them all. My advice will be learn a couple of reasons. What jobs would you use? If they ask you about your dad, what are you going to say that your dad is and what he has to do? If they ask you about yourself, what job you want to do and how are you going to say what will you do in the job? Remember that this doesn't need to be true, so my advice is try to memorize the easiest one for you. So I will make a note of the few reasons or the few tasks that you think that you are more likely to use in your writing. So you will be able to say what the job is and either what your parents do or what you are going to do in the job. Okay? In the second sentence builder here, sorry, my face is on the way, but it's on a Word document, so you can look at it. You got more reasons. You got how to say it will be, yeah? It will be divertido, fun, fácil, easy, entretenido, entertaining, relajante, relaxing, creative, creativo, variado with variety. You might want to say, I will work in an office. Al aire libre. Al aire libre means outdoor. I recommend you to make a note. If someone says, I want to work al aire libre, means that they want to work outdoors or outside. That might be important in your assessment, okay? The word al aire libre. So you got all the reasons there. So the idea now is using this sentence builder to put everything together, okay? So for example, think about it. If they can ask you what your mom does for a job, or if they ask you what are you going to do in the future as a job. Okay, so here you go examples of what you could produce in your assessment. So if they ask you what does your mom do for a job, you could say my mom works as a waitress and she has to serve the customers. In my opinion, it's difficult. So you can count like the 3 chunks of information: the job, what she does, my opinion. If I ask you about yourself in the future, you can say, in the future, I want to work as a lawyer. I am going to do something. I am going to work in an office. And in my opinion, it will be interesting. Or in the future, I want to work as a teacher and I am going to teach children. In my opinion, it will be easy. Using the sentence builders that I gave you on the Word document, try to translate those sentences. So pause the video, translate the sentences, and then we look at the answers. Okay, grab a green pen. So hopefully for the first one, you have mi madre trabaja de camarera. So that's the first chunk of grammar. You should have trabaja. And then tiene que servir a los clientes. Third thing, en mi opinión, es difícil. So that sentence is in the present. Okay? Now, if I ask you about yourself, you should have the other 2 sentences are en el futuro quiero trabajar de abogado y voy a trabajar en una oficina. En mi opinión será interesante. And en el futuro quiero trabajar de profesor y voy a enseñar a los niños. En mi opinión será fácil. You can see clearly the idea is to have kind of 3 ideas for the job. Now I'm going to ask you to make your own ones. So these are the 2 speaking cards that I will recommend you to prepare for your assessment. So questions that you could potentially be asked and we have not practiced a lot in lessons. What is your dad's job? Or what does your mom do for a job? Yeah, something like that. So you will have to say, mi padre trabaja de, say the job, y tiene que, and say what he has to do. In my opinion, is easy, difficult, entertaining, fun, cool, whatever. So I will write an answer like that about your mom or dad and memorize it. Remember, it doesn't need to be true. We are just checking out that your grammar is correct. And then the last one, what job you would like to do in the future. You need to write about yourself. In the future, I want to work as. What job you want to do. And I am going to, or I would like to. What are you going to do in the job? You can say, voy a trabajar en una oficina, voy a enseñar a los niños, voy a cuidar el jardín. Any of the reasons, and then say in your opinion what it will be like. In my opinion, it will be fun, cool, boring, whatever. Okay? So make sure that you write 2 answers for the jobs in the future, and then try to memorize them. If you want me to mark them, bring them to lesson and I will check that it makes sense or if there is something that we could improve. So then you can memorize those ones and be ready for your assessment. Thanks for your time. I hope you find the video useful and good luck for your assessment, chicos y chicas.